The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm Rob Denninger, and I'm here with Jack DeGraw. And as always, we're talking Yankees baseball. How you doing, Jack?
Good. How are you tonight, Robert?
Oh, not too bad. Yankees have taken the first two games they've taken the last two games against Boston.
Yeah, I mean, I believe now they got like a 16-game lead over the Red Sox and Toronto and the Reds and the Rays. I mean, they're just playing great ball and they're running away with everything.
Yeah, Tampa's 15.5 out and Boston 16. Blue Jays 16.5 out. It would take a total collapse for the Yankees to lose this division. I mean, I think now it's just, we could sure you guys stay healthy.
Yeah, and the good thing is they got they got some pitching coming back, so they can rest some of their pitchers.
Yeah, Loizica has a rehab start in Single A Tampa, and I think that Domingo Germán's got one in Triple A.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the score for the Tarpons. Trying to get the box how Loizica did. I mean, he was pitching against Fort Myers, and they didn't score in the first two innings, but he's not in the game anymore. He might only pitched an inning, so I'll have to check that.
Yeah, and this week I was talking off air. We were talking off air. Hal Steinbrenner released a statement saying that they offered Judge a good deal based on the statistics alone, and that any discussions they'll have later. And, to me, hearing that, I don't see the Yankees budging much from their deal. And I think it'd be a huge mistake if they lose into free agency. Well,
first of all, Robert, I don't think they should, they want to, I think they want to get Judge against the fans against Judge. That's what I think they want to do. And if they do that, it's going to be. I think it'll be a losing battle. Early in their career, these guys don't make much money, and they can be very productive. And then they get to 29, 30, 31, and they want longer contracts because early in their career they don't make nothing. So then they look bad to the fans, and really it's the owners who are making money hand over fist. I mean, the Yankees got all Peacock, and you know more about that than I do, Robert. But go ahead. Sorry.
They're cashing in on having their games being streamed on Apple and Amazon. I mean, which bothers a lot of fans that I know because they got their own network, for Christ's sake. I don't know why they have to sell out to these social media companies to make a few extra bucks.
Yeah, I remember, I believe in 2003, they used to have the games on regular TV. And that year they only had maybe 20 games on. And that's when they started like the Yes Network, and they made people pay extra for games. And now it's just, it's out of hand. People buy the Yes Network to watch the Yankees.
Yeah.
And they have to spend more money. It's just, these owners are making money, every which way. It's just, and then, the prices of tickets, the prices of parking, the prices of food. It's just, it's not the same game. I mean, they really don't give a shit about the fans when you get right down to it.
No, they want to cash in on the fans who have the money. A lot of these ballparks are tailored to them. The box seats, the restaurants. I mean, it's too much. Yeah,
and it's hard for the regular fan to go to the game. And even when you do go to the game, you're sitting with people you're trying to get away from. You don't want to be around with the highfalutin assholes. You want to be with real people who love the game and appreciate it for what it is. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and baseball, I mean, their fan base consists of people of our age, our generation. They're not gaining new fans. They're not, connecting with the youth. And a lot of it's fan interaction. They've cut a lot of it out. You don't see a lot, you don't get to see, players on the field before games or practicing in the minors. You don't get to see all that anymore.
No, because I remember when I first moved down here in like 2004, and I lived across the street from the Yankees minor league complex. I mean, I used to walk over there all the time, Robert, and watch them practice. And, you just walk in there. Jeter be hitting, Posada, Tino. And, you could get baseballs in the outfield. And it was just a fantastic atmosphere. You go down the Steinbrenner field, and you could stand there and watch the players, and you were like 2 feet from them, and you could interact. It was just tremendous. Now it's no fun. It's just completely changed.
I mean, you used to go to the ballpark early to watch batting practice, and the players, when they're done, they'd sign autographs, hang around, and a lot of guys nowadays, they got batting cages in the club, in the stadium for them, so they don't got to go out on the field. I mean, it's totally different today.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things when I used to go to, spring training, I used to love to watch the pitchers.
Yeah.
And now they throw underneath. I'm talking spring training. You can't even watch that.
Wow. And
then you can't stand in certain areas, and it's like, it gets to a point like, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah.
Why even bother going?
Yeah, I remember Mark McGwire. I mean, people used to show up early just to see batting practice for Mark McGwire back in the 90s when him and Sammy Sosa were going at it, but people started coming to the park earlier just to watch batting practice.
Yeah, that's the thing now. I mean, when you went to a game, it was a big deal. You got there early, you wanted to see everything, and now they don't let the fans in till maybe an hour before the game or an hour and a half before the game. So you can't watch, the home team hit. And they don't take infield practice, outfield practice. So I don't know. It's just, it's completely changed.
Yeah. And also the big talk on sports radio up here this week's been, how good this team has been this year. They're comparing them to the 1998 Yankees, who went on to win the World Series. And I went back and looked at the stats, and because I thought the 98 team was a better offensive team, and it turns out that they were. I mean, they batted .288 as a team, and they have a higher on-base percentage, higher slugging percentage, higher on-base plus slugging, and 1 through 25. I mean, they were a deep team in 98, and I mean, this Yankee team is good. They're running away with the division. But I think this year so far they got a team batting average of .243. I mean, that's the difference between this team and the 98 team. Is the 98 team could grind out at bats, and they could hit singles, doubles, triples, get the big home run when needed. This team, it kind of relies on the home run, but like you said, they do get the big hit when they need it.
Yeah, and I mean, the 98 team, well, they won everything. And they had, they had outstanding players coming off the bench, and they had the players, Tino and Posada and Jeter and all those guys. They could go to the opposite field, Paul O'Neill, and this team does come up with big hits. But I think another thing, when these up in New York, they have the talk shows every day, and you have to have something to talk about. So you have to create conversation. And Joey Gallo, they've been defending Joey Gallo because, that's the one thing the fans are harping on because it's the only thing they can harp on is Joey Gallo. And the sportscasters are like, leave the guy alone. Your team's running away with the division. He's the least of your problems, But Joey Gallo is really the only thing that fans up here have anything to complain about. Well, the fans always have to complain. I think, Robert, with Joey Gallo, I mean, you see him on the bases. He can run. He plays excellent defense. He's an athlete, but he's got so many holes in his swing. And when they get to a big series in the playoffs or a big game, I'd be surprised to even have him. They're not going to have him in the lineup.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to boil down to. He's not going to be in the lineup.
No. And looking at the Yankees schedule here, they got 2 more at Boston, including today. Then they play Cincinnati for 3, and then they got Boston again for 3 more. I mean, they could really bury Boston if they could take the next 2 games here and then take 2 out. I mean, Boston could be in trouble. The Yankees could keep building on that lead they got.
Yeah, and I was looking like in 1978 when the Yankees had they come back from 14 games back, and they had 100 wins. The Red Sox had 99, Milwaukee had 93 in the same division, and Baltimore had like 90 wins. And back then there was better teams.
Yeah.
Even in the American League West, they had 3 or 4 teams that were over 500. Now you have so many bad teams in the American League and the National League that, I don't see them going into a long slump. I don't think it's possible who they're playing against.
Yeah, yeah. And we're going to have Domingo Germán and Loaiza back at some point, and I have a feeling the Yankees will make a move at the trade deadline just to get whatever it is they feel they need. I mean, they're in prime position to have a good second half to keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, update, Loaiza just pitched an inning. He pitched
good.
1 inning, no hits, 1 strikeout, 13 pitches, I think 11 for strikes. So
that's a good sign.
Yeah, they're just bringing him along slow.
Yeah, I mean, because ever since he's come up, he's been brilliant. I mean, there was even talk about him being the future closer, and then this year something was off, and I'm wondering if it was just soreness or the injury or whatever, but when he's on, he's a heck of a pitcher to have in your bullpen.
Yeah, they get him back, and who's the other guy we're talking? Oh, yeah, Germán. They get him back.
Yeah.
Britton will be back in September. I think they're going to come to a point where you're going to give Cortez some. Maybe he'll miss a couple starts, and Sevy he'll miss some starts, and Helion, because there's no reason to throw these guys out there with such a big lead, and Cortez has struggled a little bit lately, so I think you might see his innings cut down a little, maybe getting him on the phantom disabled list, or just go with a 6-man rotation.
Yeah. I mean, it's something I think they definitely will do. I mean, I think it'd be the smart thing to do. I mean, you got the arms, use them.
Yeah, and there's a good possibility we'll make a trade at the deadline.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the last 7 days, last 5 games. Matt Carpenter, he's been great for them this year so far. In the last 5 games, he's got a homer, 3 RBIs. Donaldson, he's got 3 home runs, 9 RBIs. Hicks is batting over 400 with 2 homers and 5 RBIs. Glaber's batting over 400 in the last 5 games. The guys that, seeing Donaldson and Hicks and Glaber, starting to hit, it's a good sign.
Yeah, Carpenter, last year he only had maybe he only had 2 or 3 home runs, and he's in the minor leagues with Texas, and they were watching him, and, another big pickup by Cashman, and Donaldson, I think he's done what the Yankees got him for. If he plays a part, and he's starting to heat up a little. He's been an outstanding hitter for most of his career, and they had a stretch there, Robert. They had 3 grand slams in like 6 innings.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, and Donaldson, he's been great at third base, and if he even hits a little bit, it's a plus. He's starting to heat up. He's hit a few home runs in the last few games. He's got 9 home runs. I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes the year with 25 home runs if he can get going. He is a former MVP. The guy could still play.
Yeah, what's impressive, the Yankees got so many guys. If somebody's struggling, they can. They got 4 or 5 guys who can hit like in the meat of the order, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. Yeah, and Carpenter, I mean, on the year, he's batting over 300 with 9 home runs and 20 RBIs. He just seems to get big-headed. Every time he plays, he seems to do something good.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty much a storybook season so far, and there's still a long way to go, though.
Yeah, and I like that shortstop we got, Kiner Falefa. I mean, he's batting over 270, but he's been a solid pickup.
Yeah, I mean, they had all the big price free agents over the winter, and the Yankees didn't go for any of them, but they picked up this young guy who was only 26, 27, and actually he can catch also, which is amazing. And he just has to come in and do his part. You don't have to be fantastic. Just be a good fielder, which he is, and hit a little bit, which he's done more than hit just a little. And it's a good acquisition. And then if Volpe comes up, maybe move to third base. Well, that's still in the future.
And their pitching's been just. I mean, Cole is 8-2. Nestor Cortez is 7-3. James Hillian 9-2. I mean, and Severino's looked great. Montgomery's had great games. He just hasn't gotten the wins, But their starting pitching's been great for them the first half. You could tell. I mean, Cortez has been shaky the last few outings, and some of these guys are going to need a rest. But their pitching's been great.
I don't think anybody could anticipate how good it's been. I expect it to be, you expect Cole to be good, but the other guys have just been outstanding. I've been really impressed with Sevy. I mean, he looks better now. Yeah. He looks like he looks like a better pitcher than he was 3-4 years ago when he was outstanding.
Yeah, I mean he's got an ERA just over 3, but he's in 84 innings. He's only given up 63 hits. The homers are down. He's only given up 29 earned runs. I mean, he was the guy I was worried about. Maybe his arm being weak, but he looks strong and he's very competitive when he's out in that mound.
Yeah, and Teleon has been has been outstanding. I think, pitching coach Matt Blake and the analytics staff, I mean, these guys, they love the analytics staff, a lot of the pitchers. So, we got to give them a big shout out too. They've really done their job so far.
Yeah, and this week they talked to Aaron Boone and they asked, about Chapman, if he's going to be if he's going to return as a closer, and he said no. He said as of now, Clay Holmes is our closer. He goes, if something happens down the line with, injury-wise, then, we'll see what happens. But as of now, Holmes is our closer.
Well, when we talked last Saturday, Chapman just, he walked all 3 guys he faced. And then since then, he's pitched 2 scoreless, innings with 2 different starts. And he's been throwing less pitches. His velocity's been like 97. But he just doesn't seem to have the confidence in his fastball. But there's no reason to have him as a closer right now.
Yeah,
he's just a good piece to have.
Yeah, Boone touched on that about the fastball and how he started to rely a lot more on his breaking stuff, and it kind of hurt him. Because getting his velocity back up would be good for him. But yeah, he said we have one of the best closers in baseball, in Clay Holmes.
Yeah. I mean, with the sinker he's got, I mean, they just hit everything into the dirt, so you don't have to really worry about the short porches at Yankee Stadium because everything stays on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, Clay Holmes, I'm looking at it. He's only given up 2 earned runs in 38 innings. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it seems like a Stratomatic stat. It's almost it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and going back to Aaron Judge, I can't see the Yankees without him next year. I mean, I I just didn't like that comment that Hal Steinbrenner said. I mean, I think he brings so much more to the team than just, stats.
Well, I feel, and I think most fans feel that he'll be back. Though,
yeah,
and they're not going to let something, like him go away. They're not going to let Judge get away. I mean, look what happened, when Cano left.
Yeah.
Look what happened with Cano left. And, I mean, look at what happened, like, with Freddie Freeman with the Dodgers. He's with the Dodgers. He got the big contract, and he's sorry he ever left the Braves. So hopefully cooler heads will prevail, and they'll sit down and work something out. There'll be a lot of going back and forth, but I think they won't let Judge go. Yeah,
because next year, if let's say they do let Judge go, they would have no right fielder, and Gallo would be gone. There'd be no left fielder. I think Donaldson's only signed for a year, so there's no third baseman. I mean, they still kind of need a catcher. I mean, they would have a lot of holes to fill.
Yeah, and we'll just have to see how everything plays out going forward. Mainly, how they do in the playoffs, because that's the Yankee season all the time.
And the Yankees play the Mets July 26th and July 27th. It's only a 2-game series. I was kind of ashamed it's not a 3-game series.
Well, that is something, New York will get excited about, because both of them are playing, terrific baseball, and, you might have it might be 2000 all over again. So,
that'd be
great if it happens.
I know the Mets just got Max Scherzer back, and he pitched good the other night, I think.
Yeah, I know. I think he had 11 strikeouts in 5 innings, I believe, or.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. The Mets lead has shrunk down to 2 games, though. Braves are playing some of the best baseball in the majors right now.
Oh yeah, they've really gotten hot.
Yeah. And they're 7-3 in their last 10, and the Mets are 5-5. So they gained 2. They were 4 games out, a couple days ago. Now they're only 2, and I think the Mets have a 4-game series with them coming up.
Well, I think with all the teams, like getting in the playoffs now, of course you want to finish first, but it's not like it's not as crucial as it used to be.
No.
You know what I'm looking up, Robert? Last week we talked about, pitchers and how many wins they have and all, and the top 5 is like Verlander. He's got 237 wins. Zach Greinke 221. Scherzer got 195. Kershaw's got 190. Adam Wainwright has 190. And then the drop off to 6th is David Price with 155. So, I mean, Garrett Cole's got 125, and so there's a big drop off. I mean, there's I don't see anybody, maybe Cole get to 200 wins, but a lot of these pitchers, I mean, it's just going to change.
Yeah, I mean, the criteria for the Hall of Fame one day is about to be completely different. Because with analytics, they don't care about wins. Who wins the game, as long as the team gets a win.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like there's no pitchers who's going to step up and win over 200 games anymore. I don't see. I think 150 will be the point where that's a heck of a career. We get going down 5-8 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of you see guys getting pulled in the 3rd, 4th inning. If the pitch count's high, or if they're about to go, do the lineup for the 3rd time. I mean, they pull the starters quick.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see 250 game winners. I don't think we'll ever see a 300 game winner again.
No. And I was watching the playoff game between the Yankees and Red Sox, the 78 game where they were playing that one-game playoff, and just how, like, the Red Sox in the bottom of the second, I forget the guy's name, but he doubled, and then they bunted him to third. It's just watching, what baseball was like, just manufacturing runs, and it's something we don't see a lot of today. And you see, what teams wait for guys to get on base via a walk or a single, and then they hope for a home run.
Yeah, I mean, even when they start the extra innings now, they have a runner on second. It's surprising how long it takes, for them to score a run. Years ago, I think if you started an inning with a runner on second, they would have scored. Just my worthless opinion, they probably would have scored 6-7 times out of 9 innings.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think they'd score maybe 3 times at the most.
Yeah, and the other thing I noticed was every time Munson threw the ball back to Guidry, it took Guidry 6 seconds. By the time he got the ball, it took him 6 seconds to throw back to the plate. He didn't waste any time, and the batters never got out of the batter's box. So, it was quick. And today you see the pitchers, they take a lot of time on the mound. Batters stepping out. I think that's the problem with the game. They're trying to figure ways to shorten it. Is have the batter stay in the batter's box and have the pitcher ready to throw the ball right away.
Yeah, well, most of the successful pitchers, when they get the ball, they want to throw it.
Yeah,
and that's why, defensively they'll make great plays behind it because, the fielders are ready for some action. When you get a guy out there and he's messing around, there's a lot of standing around, and it's just it's monotonous to watch sometimes.
Yeah, it is when there's nothing going on, and and there's there's not a lot of hits unless you're hitting home runs, and if it can be boring at times. I find myself changing the channel sometimes, and then going back to the game to see what's going on.
Yeah, I just think sometimes when you see a pitcher fiddling around and stuff, it almost says I don't feel confident.
Yeah,
I'm afraid to throw the ball because something bad might happen. Instead of just being aggressive and getting the ball and throwing it.
Yeah,
challenge the hitter, throw your best pitch.
When you mentioned Verlander before, he had Tommy John surgery, and this year he just looks absolutely incredible. You wouldn't think he's in his late 30s. He looks great.
Yeah, I remember when he was with the Tigers, it looks like his career was coming to an end, and he's just what he's doing is amazing. At his age, and maybe he'll make me eat my words. Maybe he'll win 300 games. Who knows?
if he stays with Houston, they seem to turn around pitchers' careers. Yeah. I'm looking at the Yankees. They play 3 with Cincinnati at home, and then they got Boston for 3 at home. Then they go on the road to play Houston twice, and then they go to Baltimore for 3. And then Citi Field for 2. And that takes us to the end of July. So the Yankees got a couple, they got Boston in there, Houston, and the Mets. So there should be some good baseball next few weeks.
Yeah, you like to see them play the better teams, and, it gives you a better indication how they're really playing.
Yeah. And I think the game started right now. It's 5 of the first at 0-0.
Robert, you want to hear an interesting statistic? You can check this. I don't think Justin Verlander's ever won a World Series game.
I think you might be right.
I think he's 0-6 in the series. I'm not sure, but in the division and the championship series, he pitched really well. But I don't think he's ever won a World Series game.
How about that? Yeah, I'm pulling up his. Yeah, he's 11-3 on the year at the 2.00 ERA. How old is he?
39, I believe.
Yeah, he was born in 83. He's 39 years old. Wow.
Okay. You can check it out, Robert. I think he's got lit up pretty good in the World Series.
Yeah, he's 0-2 in the World Series. He's 0-2 at the 5.73 ERA in 11 innings, giving up 7 runs on 12 hits in 11 innings. How about that?
Let me check this here, Robert. Yeah, I see he was 0-6, and in 7 games, Robert, he's pitched 38 innings and given up 24 runs.
Oh, yeah.
He's got an earned run average of 5.68. I mean, in the American League Division Series, he's lights out, 8-1. In the American League Championship Series, he's 6-4. But in the World Series,
in 2006, he was 0-2. And then in 2012, in the World Series, he was 0-1. And then in the 2019 World Series, he was 0-2. So he's 0-5 in World Series starts.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something when they talk about him, you never hear that.
Yeah.
You never hear that.
Yeah,
the Yankees should have got him, and, well, maybe they should have got him. But, it's just another interesting stat.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 0-5 in the World Series, and he's been hit pretty well in the World Series, too.
Yeah, he's gotten lit up pretty good.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I wish there was more to talk about, but the Yankees are just like I was saying last week. They're just steamrolling through the season. I mean, it is pretty incredible. But there's been 3 other Yankee teams that gotten to 60 wins this fast, and each of those teams went on to win the World Series, and not only win it, swept the World Series. So, if history is any indication, the Yankees should win the World Series this year and do it by sweep.
That's the criteria for the Yankees. I'd imagine some of those teams was they had Ruth and Gehrig, probably 1927 or from 36 to 39 they won 4 World Series in a row. In 32, that's when Ruth had the so-called called shot, and they beat the Cubs 4 straight.
Yeah, I know one of them was I know one of them was in the early 30s, and I know the most recent one was in 98 when the Yankees swept the Padres.
Yeah, that was 1932 when they swept the Cubs, and maybe in 1927 they swept the Pirates.
Yeah, Murderers Row. Yeah. I felt bad I was glad to see Tony Gwynn get in the World Series, but I was happy the Yankees won the World Series. But he was just such a hell of a player, Tony Gwynn. Yeah,
he was an outstanding basketball player too. He played, I believe, he was a point guard at San Diego State.
Well, how about that?
Yeah, he could. It's just a shame. I think he passed away. He was 54.
Yeah, I think cancer, mouth cancer, something like that, from years of chewing tobacco.
Yeah, it's it was a real tragic loss. It's such a young guy.
Yeah, and Kirby Puckett died young too, right?
Yeah.
He was he was a great player, Kirby Puckett.
Yeah, I remember going to the stadium. Yeah, I remember seeing Puckett at the stadium when they used to come in and play the Yankees, and he was a sensational watch.
Oh yeah, I remember in Minnesota, their stadium, didn't they have like a glass on the wall? It was like a glass barrier over the wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing him jump up and robbing someone of a home run one time, and I remember that glass barrier being there, or that plexiglass.
Yeah, I think that was a World Series against the Braves, and then Jack Morris pitched I don't know, 9 or 10 innings, and they won in 7 innings. They won the 7th game against the Braves.
Yeah, Jack Morris, boy, he pitched a hell of a game.
Yeah, he was one of the greatest. He was a great pitcher in the 80s. He might have won more games than anybody in the 80s.
I mean, I don't think you'll ever see something like that again. Teams today letting their pitcher go 10 innings, no matter how good he looks.
No, it's a different era. Some good, some bad.
And going back to the '98 team, David Cohen, he won 20 games for the Yankees. He was 20-7 that year. And David Wells was 18-4.
Yeah, I mean, they were just outstanding. I know, like, a lot of Yankee fans were mad when they got rid of Wells and they brought in Clemens.
Yeah.
I remember going to Yankee games and Wells would be pitching in the upper deck when he'd strike a batter out. They'd put up like a beer cup to signal the strikeouts.
Yeah, and the best part is when he threw that no-hitter, he was hungover. Yeah, Yankee fans love David Wells.
Yeah, he was like one of us, and he wore Babe Ruth's cap, the one inning.
Yeah.
So
they did have some characters, but that's what made them good. They're guys like Paul O'Neill, David Wells. I mean, they had some characters in that clubhouse. Darryl Strawberry.
Robert, I told you the David Wells story, but if you want, I'll tell it to you again. It's just a funny story. Yeah. He was down at a Yankee fantasy camp, and I had the pleasure of meeting him a couple times. He was a really nice guy. And he was signing autographs, and the one guy goes, David's signing the ball, and he goes, David, could you please put your perfect game date on the ball? And Wells said, yeah, I'll write my name, and you can put any fucking thing on it you want.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
He was a lot of fun.
Yeah, my brother-in-law got me a ball signed by David Justice.
There was a big pickup with the Yankees.
Yeah, he's gotten me. He's got me the David Justice ball, and he's got me an autographed Don Mattingly card.
Nice things to have. I mean, we talked a lot about, we talked about Justice and Mattingly last week. The Marlins are actually doing pretty well. They're almost at 500 from what I understand. So.
Yeah, they beat the Mets last night, 5-2. Yeah, and they got some pretty good young talent on that team. I know they were bringing up some young kid from their minors, but the Marlins, they're 40-42. They're only 11 games out. I mean, considering they're made up of a bunch of basically a AAA team, but they got a lot of young kids, and in the last 10 games they're 7-3.
Well, when they brought Jeter in, and he brought Gary Denbo with him, and Denbo left, but they wanted to build up the farm system, and any indication they did a good job building the farm system. Yeah, because
I guess this kid they're bringing up is pretty good. So they got some young guys down there that next year or two they could be a lot better than they are this year, but they're not doing bad. I mean, Mattingly, won Manager of the Year last year, or the year before with the shortened season, winning the division.
Yeah, they got in the playoffs the year before. I think the thing down there, it's the same old story why Jeter left. They don't want to spend money.
Yeah.
They just don't want to spend money, and it's baseball in Florida doesn't work out.
Yeah, you got to have a good scouting department and develop a good development program to compete if you're not going to spend the money.
Yeah, and Denbo did a great job with the Yankees. He turned it. He was with the Yankees before he went to the Marlins. He did a really nice job down here.
Yeah. Going back to my signed autographs, I had an autograph from Mattingly, and I lost it, and I contacted Mattingly Charities, his charity foundation, and I spoke to a woman, and I told her what happened, and like 2 weeks later in the mail, I got 2 small wooden bats signed by Don Mattingly.
Oh, that's cool. I never, that's a great story, Rob. I never heard that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. I reached out through Twitter and sent a message, a DM, a direct message explaining how I lost it. And yeah, I sent me two small, those tiny little wooden bats, and both signed by Don Mattingly. So that was pretty nice of them. I know his charity tries to build up ballparks for kids and provide equipment to kids that need it.
Yeah, that's a great cause. I know, like, down here, Robert, in Tampa, I'll be quick, they got a lot of beautiful ball fields, but the kids don't play, and most of the times the fields are locked.
Yeah, that's a shame.
You don't have, pickup games anymore, and it's just a shame to see.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, we tried to get, we if there was four of us. One guy would bat, one guy would pitch, and you have one in the infield and one in the outfield. And if he was a righty, everyone would be on the right. We always, if we could get four, we could play. And that or stickball. I mean, you just don't see kids playing like stickball anymore, or out in the field, baseball field with their friends hitting the ball around, throwing. You just don't see it anymore.
No. It's the only thing they play is like they have Little League, which is great for the parents, gives them something to do. And they have the travel teams, which makes money. When I hear like, well, he's like the fifth one, he's in the top 50 in his age group for Florida. He's 10 years old.
Yeah. The team up here, Tinton Falls team, Little League team, they were supposed to go to the tournament, and because one of the kids, he was 16 years old, and he was from a different town that didn't have a Little League team, so he filed the proper paperwork to play for Tinton Falls, but they're saying he was supposed to update a certain, a certain piece of paper and never did. So not only can he not play, but now the team, Tinton Falls, can't play in the tournament. Well,
the more the adults ruin everything, and the more organized somebody tries to make things, the more screwed up it usually gets.
Yeah. So and the kid, they had him on TV. He felt bad. He's like, I won't play, but I hate seeing my friends not being able to go to the tournament because of me. I mean, and even the coach was like, all the paperwork was in, and apparently they had to update something, and he never knew about it, and it cost this team a trip to the tournament.
Well, it's just a shame.
Yeah, he's a kid,
Yeah. I don't know what to say, Robert. Yeah,
right.
Adults will frig up things better than anything, and so I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, Jack, same time next week. I mean, maybe something interesting will happen. Maybe we'll have more news on.
We always, if we don't talk about the current team, we can talk about the older team. I mean, it's always. The Yankees, there's always something to talk about. Yeah,
I mean, like I was watching that playoff game this morning. I watched a little bit of it. I mean, Ron Guidry, that year in 1978, he went 25-3 with a 1.78 ERA. Yeah, I mean, that was a hell of a year. Probably the best year of any Yankee pitcher.
Yeah, Whitey Ford went 25-4 one year. The interesting thing that year when George fired Billy, and they brought in Bob Lemon, and then they had the paper strike. The newspapers went on strike. So for the last 7-8 weeks of the season, you didn't have the Daily News and New York Post and the New York Times. I mean, they could just pretty much play, without any press.
They must have loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, with all the controversy going on. So here's a little side note.
That's cool. Yeah, because, growing up, I would get the Post, the news, and my local paper just to read the sports. But now with social media and the 24-hour, sports channels, you don't need the newspaper anymore.
No, I mean, when I used to get the paper, I used to keep the newspaper clippings, the pictures and everything. I still got them. They're probably were 50 years old, and they smell it too. But, it's, a different time.
Yeah. Well, maybe next week we'll know more about, when we might get Herman and Loizaga back. That'll be something.
Yep. Always a pleasure, Robert.
Oh, always. So, talk to you next week?
Yep.
All right. And all your fans out there, we'll catch you later on.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices, and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.